guys, thanks for joining us on Family Life today here on YouTube.
Make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss any episodes, so hit the little bell and you'll get notifications and you won't miss anything. And if this encourages you, like it and share it with your friends.
Yeah, share it with your friends.
Yeah, welcome to Family Life today.
So you probably remember this moment on our honeymoon.
Oh, we're going back to our honeymoon 42
years ago. There are a lot of great moments on our honeymoon, right, honey?
There were.
Please say there were.
Yes.
This was in the hotel room in Boston where this happened. Didn't feel like a great moment for me, but as I look back, it was a defining moment. You just went, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Welcome to Family Life Today, where we want to help you pursue the relationships that matter most. I'm Ann Wilson.
Yes, you are. And I'm Dave Wilson, and you can find us at FamilyLifeToday.com or on the Family Life app.
This is Family Life Today. We were in Boston, and we're both pretty adventurous. I love to travel. I love to be on an adventure. And we got on the subway in Boston. And we both come from a little farm town in Ohio, Findlay, Ohio. And so this was new for us. We get on, and here we are. We're 19 and 22 years old. And we're on the subway, and we're trying to figure out how to get back. And you started getting really frustrated because we were so lost. And I'm laughing like, this is funny, we're so lost. But you kept getting more and more quiet. We finally made it back to the hotel room. And when we get back there, I remember you just sitting on this chair and you start to cry. And I don't even know what's going on. Like, what happened? What's wrong? And you said, like, you're crying. I don't think I'd ever seen you cry like this. And you said, I don't even know what I'm doing. I can't even get us back from the subway. How am I going to lead you as a man? How am I going to be a dad? I have no idea what I'm doing.
It was like this breakdown that I didn't see coming, obviously. And I felt this overwhelming weight of, I have responsibilities now as a husband, hopefully someday a dad. I don't think I can do this. I was overwhelmed with, I'm not a good enough man. You deserve a better man. And that day just highlighted all my, deficiencies. And I remember being scared to death of marriage and leading you. Mm-hmm. And in some ways, it was a defining moment because it was humbling to go, you know what? I don't have what it takes, but God can give me what it takes to be the husband and the dad my kids need.
I was so attracted and drawn to you in that moment because of your vulnerability. And I remember sitting on your lap saying, but we can do it together. Like, Jesus will help us.
It was a cool moment. But I think a lot of men maybe either get to that moment or are afraid of that moment. And today we get to talk about manhood and a vision of manhood with Brant Hansen. He's back with us. Brant, welcome back.
Thank you.
I mean, when you hear that story, again, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking the fact that if you don't have a good dad that you grew up with, it is really daunting to take on something. I think it's a little more daunting. It's always daunting because you realize the scope of it. And maybe other people are just like, well, that's just life. You do this, you do that. But I think there's an extra weight that can come with that. Like, how do I do this? Do I have any business doing this? Am I a fraud? Am I an imposter? Do I really even know what I'm doing? I think if you took a poll of guys and we were all being totally honest, that's the vast majority.
Do you think so? Like most men feel like that's a daunting task.
It's daunting, and also we don't really know what we're doing. And I'm the guy who wrote the book. And I'm saying that's something I certainly don't always know what I'm doing. I have some core principles now, which I think are really good. And they're very energizing. Like I'm saying, this idea of being a keeper of the garden, Adam's child. And I see that as my role in different ways. It's very energizing, but I still don't. Relationships are difficult, and it's easier to do some other stuff.
Yeah, and obviously you talk on the radio every day.
Yeah.
So you're good at that. You're really good at that. And people listen to you and want to follow you and get your autograph, I'm sure, all that kind of stuff. You write a book called The Men We Need, and it's all about manhood. Yet you come from a family where you said there was a lot of fear. So as you became a husband and then eventually a dad, did you feel some of the same
fear,
struggles that I was dealing with?
Absolutely. I still feel like I don't necessarily. I mean, I wore a nice sport coat here for you guys.
You really
pretty
look good.
impressive.
Hey, thank you, with the little pocket square and everything. But
We noticed.
that's to look like I know what I'm doing, and it stalls it longer if you realize he actually doesn't know what he's talking about. No, like I do think it's called imposter syndrome. For a lot of people, I do think it's really intense for a lot of guys. Most deep down, going, I don't really know what I'm doing, and I don't want other people to find out. I will say it's gotten better for me over time, not because I realized, wow, I'm really competent, but instead it's like, God's got me. I actually can trust him. It's such a religious throwaway statement to go, trust God, trust Jesus, trust. Okay. Well, it matters now when you don't necessarily know what you're doing. I remember the meme. It's a picture of a dog like flying a helicopter. He's got the headphones on. He's in the cockpit. It's an actual dog. And so he put the headphones on him and it just said, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I was like, I understand that. But I really do think this trust thing matters. In the daily faithfulness, in learning, like in Psalm 23 where it says, the Lord is my shepherd. So he's leading. And then the next thing it says is, I lack nothing. I have what I need to do this today. I'll let tomorrow take care of itself. And if somebody's like, hey, you actually don't know what you're doing on it, like, yeah, you're probably right. Anyway.
The Lord's my shepherd.
But I keep showing up. Yeah. And the Lord's my shepherd, and he's been faithful. So I tell guys that too. It's like, I know how you feel, but let's just be faithful and keep showing up and keep putting the effort into the right things. Talk about relationships in particular in your family.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, go back. You just shared that story when we first got married. What have you learned in 42 years?
It's really what Brant's been saying the last couple days is, you just said it, show up every single morning, every single day, and figure this out. Which means what Brant wrote about, I got to find out what a man is. I got to find out what a Christian husband is and a Christian godly dad is. I got to know what that is. I think part of it is 2 weeks before that moment on our honeymoon, we went to the FamilyLife Weekend to Remember marriage conference as an engaged couple. And we now speak for that. We've been speaking for that for 30 years, but we had never been there. And on Sunday morning, we split the husbands and wives up, and we talked to the men and we talked to the wives. And I remember sitting there as an engaged guy getting married in 2 weeks, hearing what a husband from the scripture should be and what a dad from scripture should be, and walking out absolutely overwhelmed, like, I've never seen that. I've never heard that. I'll never be able to do that. Then 2 weeks later, I was faced with my own deficiencies in that moment. Like, I can't. And I think now that's exactly where God wanted me. It's like, yeah, you can't, but I can.
Yeah.
And if you trust
That's what
me,
you said. The Lord is my shepherd.
and you allow me to empower you, I will make you the man you can't make yourself. I'll make you the husband you could never be apart from me. And so it was sort of a surrender. I got to fall on my face every moment and say, Jesus, I don't have what it takes, but you do. Fill me and make me the husband she deserves and the dad my kids long for.
Bingo. So I walk the dog every morning. We had this golden retriever named Cozy. I walk her every morning, and that's my time. I'm like, okay, I'm going to pray. I have found I need to pray out loud.
Me too.
My neighbors probably wondering what's going on. I'm not loud about it, but they see my mouth.
I think you're talking to your
talking
dog.
to the dog, yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't feel up to my job every day. I have to come up with so much content for my job.
Yeah.
And I know I don't have anything to say. I got to come up with 20 things to say today that hopefully is encouraging to people or funny or something on the radio show that I do. I don't feel up to it any day. And I talk to God about that. I need your help. And he has provided. I think there's something about having that raw honesty that is honoring to God and that he's looking for, because he's always been looking for people to partner with him in his kingdom, starting with Adam and Eve, but Abraham again, like looking for partners. So that's prayer to me, is like talking to God about what we're doing together today. I don't need to be fearful for that reason, for you are with me. Even if I'm in the valley of the shadow of death, I don't have anything to fear. So that's been really helpful, that admitting I'm not necessarily up to the task. I'll talk to God about that. And it's been wild to see how he has been up to the task for me.
It's Ephesians 3:20. He does beyond what we can imagine or even dream. I mean, our president here, David Robbins, always says, this is one of his quotes I'll never forget, if dependency is the goal, then weakness is an advantage.
It totally is.
And we always like, I don't want to be weak. I want to be strong. It's like, no, weakness isn't bad. It's an advantage if depending on Christ is the goal. That's going to get you there.
Well, then his strength comes out in your life because you made space for it. And spoiler, his strength is better than ours.
Yes.
Like he can do stuff that I would not have planned, like the stuff that's happened in my life at all.
Yeah.
And I still don't have a big blueprint. I have no idea. I'm trying to do the next thing. But this said, one of the things I point out in the book is about guys, like one of the decisions you have to make to become the man that we need is take responsibility for your own spiritual life. A lot of times that can be a guilt thing for guys. You can be like, come on, step up, do this. Like I'm trying to tell them, in American culture, feelings are everything. I mean, we see that in the mainstream culture. Your feelings can outdo reality. Like it matters more than anything. I think the same thing happens with our concept of what it means to be a spiritual person. And it can leave a lot of guys feeling guilty or like they've blown it because we think it, and many times we conflate it with an emotional response. So if I don't get goosebumps during that worship chorus, if I didn't feel God's presence in this place when everybody else did, like I just don't quite get it. There's tons of guys like that.
Tons.
They're in a worship service, they're kind of there, but it's other people that are having this emotional experience. They're not. They might be okay with it, but deep down they might think, maybe it's my sinfulness, God's left me.
I'm not as spiritual.
I'm not as spiritual.
Yeah, so what are you saying to them? Because I know the day I gave my life to Christ, I won't go into a long story, but I walked forward at an event, got on my knees at the front of the stage, and then two women came up, and they were right beside me. I don't know them. I was at this university. You've been there, University of Findlay, and they're crying. And so this counselor came over to me afterwards because they said, hey, we're going to assign somebody and answer your question. He goes, you got any questions? Here's what I said. I go, yeah, it didn't take. He goes, what? He goes, I was trying to give my life to Christ, but it didn't take. He goes, what do you mean it didn't take? I go, those women beside me are crying. I didn't really feel anything. He goes, okay, let me explain something. And he explained what you just said.
Good.
Like, it's not based on emotions. Emotions are fine. That could be great, but just because you didn't have them doesn't mean the reality of Christ coming in your life isn't real. But that's what you're saying, right?
And those women who are with you needed to hear that too. They didn't in the moment, I imagine. They're being talked to by someone else. But if you equate feeling emotional with God's presence, your own emotional state may change over time.
Yeah.
And then you think, what happened? Where's God? What have I done? What has he done? Maybe he doesn't even exist. Maybe that was bunk. Maybe I faked. Like it was all because you equated spirituality with emotion. And what I'm trying to tell guys is it doesn't make you less spiritual. That's not what emotion is. Emotion, as we know, can be influenced by, did I get a nap today? Did the Lions win yesterday? No, they didn't. So like what? But it's like there's all sorts of factors that go into that. That's not God's presence or non-presence. And if you're somebody like me who's more analytical and you don't feel stuff like that, doesn't mean God has left the building.
So how does a man take control of his spiritual life?
Loyalty. That's what
mean?
God is looking for. He's looking for loyalty from us. Believing loyalty. So there's like a Hebrew word, hesed, in the Bible, like that describes it. Most of the time it's describing his loyalty to us, but it's often the other way around too. But it's this believing loyalty. I can keep showing up. I know I'm a sinner. I get caught up in things, like I think things, I have wrong tracks of thought, like just like anybody else. But I do keep showing up, and I'm honest with God about it. And what I see from the biblical stories is that's what God's looking for. You don't ignore him. You keep going back. You keep talking. And it's not a matter whether I feel it that morning or not. Okay, so loyalty, most guys can get. We get it. I mean, Boy Scouts, or the military, or anything you train for. If you're on a basketball team, you got 6 a.m. practice. Like, you keep showing up. You don't feel like it, but I can do that. And once I realized that, I was like, I don't have to beat myself up anymore for not being emotional or at the same time everybody else is. I remember being on campus and being in a basement Bible study, and everybody got very emotional. It was very out of my idiom. And I thought, I'm missing something. I think I was 19. I'm like, God, please, I need faith like these people have. Please help me. And they realized that I was more analytical, so something was wrong with me. So they put me in the middle of the group, and they all prayed over me in different languages and whatnot, and did a whole bunch. And I was like, God, please give me whatever you want me to have. And then they gave up. And I went home. I was a teenager. Like, what's the matter with me?
Did you feel like you were broken?
Yeah, I felt like God had abandoned me, maybe because of my sin. I didn't feel the emotions everybody was feeling. And now I know that's not God. And I know there's so many guys that if they're not told, like, look, the emotions come and go. If they come, awesome, that's wonderful. But if they go, maybe that's a season of life too. I know for a lot of men and women, you go through seasons where you're not as emotional about your relationship with God. Well, just keep being loyal. That's how relationships work too, right? Even in marriage, it's not every day at the peak emotional in-loveness. But when I was writing this book, my wife and I had not gotten along that day. There was just some underlying tension. I can't remember what it was about. And she's like, hey, do you want some tea? Like, yeah. I was writing the book on the computer and she brings me over some hot tea. I was like, that's love. I know she's not feeling it for me today at all.
But
and she still shows up.
Yeah.
Now we're talking love. It's not the emotional thing that she gets out of it, because there is none right now. So if you can serve God out of loyalty, I think he's really honored by that, because the only reason you do that is out of love.
So by loyalty, when you say just show up, are you saying just talk to him every day? Tell him what's on your heart. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, because it's out of that relationship that the fruit will be born in your life. You can't manufacture the peace and gentleness that you're going to need to have, and the patience and the joy, which is, it's a sense of well-being no matter what's happening around you. That's what joy is. Like, you're not going to be able to manufacture that. It's going to come out of this ongoing conversational partnership relationship with God. So I'm not going to give up on that because of my own sin. I'm not going to have to slink away in shame. I'm going to show up again. And
good.
my understanding of the stories in the Bible, that God's actually honored by that.
Maybe even especially when you don't feel it.
Totally.
I need to, and I don't want to, and everything in me says don't do it. I'm going to get there. It's the same thing. I'm going to open the Word of God. How about this? Do you think it's important for men to be with other men?
Oh, absolutely. I know it is.
Yeah.
Well, just community in general. Even if you're listening to this now and you're a guy, you're probably like, yeah, I get this.
Yeah.
We profit, obviously, from conversations with women, profit from conversations with men. Most definitely. I want to surround myself with a few people that have some wisdom, though. If it's just foolishness, that's going to manifest itself in pain. I know when I'm foolish, it ultimately means pain for me and the people around me. So I do want some guys that are making me think differently, stretching me, challenging.
Yeah, I remember when I first moved to Detroit to be the amazing Detroit Lions chaplain 30-some years ago. Everybody laughs because who knew then what it would end up being, a lot of losses. Yeah. But I knew then, as a new man in a new city, I need to find guys. I need men.
Totally.
I need find a church, obviously, and we hadn't started one yet. So I'll never forget, I went to this men's group that some guys recommended, and I was there 3 or 4 weeks. And I remember, I'll never forget this moment. I walk in one day and I go, hey, and I didn't know these guys real well, but I knew them well enough to be vulnerable. And I said, hey, I need to share a struggle I had this week. I went through the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, and I shouldn't have done it. And I'm just confessing that to you guys. I'll never forget. They look at me and they go, dude, you are like sick. What is wrong with you? You are despicable. And I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why I said that. And basically they went around the room and I was like, I said, none of you have ever? Nope, never, not one time. Do you ever struggle? Ever? Never.
Are they joking? They're joking.
Well,
right?
I mean, that's what they were. It was like I was the worst guy they've ever met in their life. I remember getting in the car, driving home and going, okay, those aren't my guys.
What in the world?
I mean, that's what their response
And it
was.
was 35 years ago.
That was a long time ago.
I feel like that's a Nathaniel Hawthorne novel or something. Like, what? Who are these people?
Are they real?
1636 Massachusetts?
Yeah,
like, what are we talking
all
about?
I knew is I get in the car and I'm like, I got to find different guys. Not that they were bad guys. It was just like, I can't be honest with these guys.
And they can't be honest
I got
with
in the
you.
car thinking, okay, they're lying to me. Not every guy there probably did, but some guys struggle with, So anyway, all I knew was, okay, I got to find guys that will bring wisdom to my life, but I can be honest and they will not let me stay where my sin has taken me. They'll challenge me and we'll challenge one another. Guess what? I found those guys and we've been with those guys for over 30 years. But the moral of the story was, if one group doesn't work, keep trying, because there's men you need in your life. And you already said it. You need men that are wise, men that will spur you on, men that will walk with you, men that will be vulnerable.
So if you can't find them, I have some advice.
What's that?
Just ask God about it.
Yeah.
This is prayer. What do you want? I mean, Jesus actually asked Bartimaeus in Scripture, he's a blind guy, and he actually says to him, what would you like me to do for you today? Well, if I don't have any wise friends, I need some guys around that are honest so they can go, yeah, me too. And let's work through this together. Like, I need some guys that are continuing to like read things and think things and trying to grow as believers. And if you don't have any of those, ask God for them. I think he'll say, yeah.
Yeah.
It may take a little bit of time, but I honestly think if your heart cry is that gut level honest while you're driving or something, this is what I need. And I think that's something he wants to. I know he's got the power to do it. So I think it's discouraging when you feel like you can't find it because our culture is so isolated and lonely.
Yeah.
But if you ask God for it, I've seen him be faithful in my own life in that exact way.
Yeah. Then be intentional to say, hey, let's get together.
You have to be, and that's tough to do.
Yeah.
If you're like me, I'm not good at scheduling things or whatever I want, but you have to. I did a thing recently where I was like, okay, this was new for me, but we're going to get together on Monday night from 7 to 8 on my back patio for a month. But it was closed-ended, and it was only for 1 hour. We're not going on all night. We're not letting anybody filibuster, and you're stuck there, and it's not going on for years.
Just a month.
It was a huge hit in my neighborhood.
Huh.
It was just guys, and we were just talking about discipleship stuff. But like, we're done at 8. I'm like, it's 8, we're done. And then everybody wanted to stick around anyway because it was fun, and we had a lot of laughs. But like, we did our thing, and it was for 1 month, and then we quit, and then I started it up again for a month. Very cool because I think guys like the closed-endedness of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's an idea too. If you're interested in starting something like that, don't ask them to commit the rest of their lives or have to foresee awkward backing out if you have an end date that's pretty soon.
We've talked about several decisions you say a man needs to make to set them apart. One of them is protect your women. I mean, you say it, make women and children feel safe, not threatened.
And again, it's not out of an ownership thing. It's out of me wanting them to thrive and bloom. If guys were keepers of the garden, there would be no need for a Me Too movement or anything of the sort because they would feel secure because we're there, not threatened. But a big problem, even for Christian guys, because they're not taught out of it, is anger. There's this anger that we have justified in our own minds or whatever, and we think, well, I'm a man of action, I'll do whatever it needs done. But that anger actually makes your household less secure.
Yeah,
because you're angry.
It pulls us away because we're afraid of it.
You're not sure what is he going to do?
Right.
How's he going to react? That's not what you want. You don't want your wife and kids tiptoeing, afraid, and you may not even be aware of it. But you'll justify this anger or this frustration that actually makes them feel insecure. So now your house is insecure. I also know that for a lot of men, they think that's part of masculinity.
Right,
if I'm going to be a man of action, I have to get angry.
Or loud.
Right. Like, no, that's actually not masculine. What's masculine is being willing to take action when necessary, but not out of anger. You do it because it's the right thing. So your wife and kids know you're not an angry person, but when needed, you will do the right thing and you'll do it the right way. Anger actually clouds your judgment. So if you want to have a secure home, you're not angry, but you'll do the right thing. And if somebody's in trouble, they behave this way, this is what's going to happen. It's actually scarier to the kids when you're that calm. in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way. But it's like, that just sets the tone for the home that it's secure. There are these boundaries, but dad's not an angry person. You don't need anger to do the right thing.
The anger that's been constructive in my life has been when and it's not really anger, it's a resolution to say, I'm not going to be passive anymore.
Yeah.
It feels like a sense of an anger, but it's like I'm mad at myself. Like, okay, I'm gonna show up. We've said it before. I'm gonna show up in her life, in my son's lives, in my church's life, whatever. I'm gonna show up. It's a motivational sort of I guess you'd call it anger, but it's like no more.
Yeah, I think that's a motivation that's good, that's determination. But anger is always listed in the negatives in Scripture. It's put away anger or get rid of it before the sun goes down. So if it happens, get rid of it. But just imagine a home where anger is a normal thing. How can that possibly be secure? How can your kids be growing up in security or your wife feel secure? And I'm telling guys too, again, your wife is attracted to you when she feels secure. Because she knows it's when you're at your best.
You're creating a greenhouse in your home is what you're saying, where the people in it will grow and blossom.
And thrive and become, including your wife.
Yes.
That she could become everything with her intellectual gifts and everything that she could be. people just bloom around you because
Yeah.
that's how you cultivate. It's the greenhouse thing because you're the keeper of the garden.
Yeah.
Like it's a great metaphor for
Mm-hmm.
our own metaphorical gardens. Like whatever my sphere of influence is, I'm the keeper of that garden.
Yes, let's bloom the way God has intended us to do so. You've been listening to Dave and Ann Wilson with Brant Hansen on Family Life Today. In just a minute, Dave's got a scary question you can ask your spouse or your kids. But first, Brant's book is called The Men We Need: God's Purpose for the Manly Man, the Avid Indoorsman, or Any Man Willing to Show Up. Great title. You can get Brant's book at FamilyLifeToday.com. You know, God continues to use this program both on the radio and as a podcast. And I read through some of the reviews that have been posted about Family Life Today. And here's one that I wanted to share with you. Someone wrote, "I keep coming back to listen because they constantly offer hope through the gospel of Jesus. I need to be pointed to Christ, and they do this all the time. This podcast encourages me to hope in Him. Thanks, Family Life crew." Wow. That's just so encouraging to hear things like that. Reviews like this are written, lives are changed, and people glorify God because of your partnership to make this program and podcast happen. And thanks to some generous ministry partners, your gift, if you give this month, will be matched dollar for dollar until we hit $2 million. That's for a one-time gift, or if you become a monthly partner right now, your monthly gifts will be doubled for the next 12 months. You can give today at FamilyLifeToday.com, or you can give us a call at 800-358-6329. That's 800, F as in family, L as in life, and then the word today. Okay, here's Dave with a scary question a husband can ask his wife or his kids.
Here would be a scary but really good question to ask as a husband or a dad. Ask your wife and even your kids, do you thrive under me? Do you feel like you're thriving under my
Care and love.
care and influence and leadership in this home? And be ready to hear that answer and make adjustments. Hopefully they say yeah, but if they don't, say, okay, why not? How am I not helping you thrive? Because I'm called to be a caretaker to bring life to this home. And if I'm not doing that, I need to make changes to make sure that happens.
Now, coming up tomorrow on Family Life Today, Dave and Ann Wilson are joined by Abby Wedgeworth, where she will take you through her journey of grief after experiencing the tragedy of having a miscarriage. That's coming up tomorrow. On behalf of Dave and Ann Wilson, I'm Shelby Abbott. We'll see you back next time for another edition of Family Life Today. Family Life Today is a production of Family Life, a crew ministry, helping you pursue the relationships that matter most.